It appears that our gracious Majesty the Queen is being drawn into yet another huge political nightmare battle. But what is it, and what are truly going to be the next steps? Hi, good morning, Neil Sean here in the heart of London. Lovely to see you today. Now I hope you're all keeping well as we career forward now into 2022. Make sure you're wearing your masks, look out for yourselves, isolate when you're told to, all of that sort of stuff. I'm not preaching, we just have to look out for each other and of course be cautious and careful. You know, it is also the season of other terrible things, as we all know, like colds and flu. So as I say, truly do look after yourself, because I know a lot of people are getting ill recently and it's rather worrying, of course, but we all wish them well. And as I say, thank you so much for all the kind messages. I do take notice of you. You've got a scarf, gloves, hat, but it's not actually that cold right now. But back as ever, of course, to your breaking royal story of the day. Now, as we know, our gracious Majesty the Queen does not get involved in anything political, and rightly so. We have, of course, seen in more recent times ex-royals like Harry and Meghan throw their dice into the political ring, and as we've often seen also, it's not exactly worked out for the best. But this particular story now allegedly is all down to our gracious monarch. Now let me explain the background to this, because as we told you a few days ago, I placed a video online here of how the New Year's honours list works. Not just the New Year's, but of course the other honours list, of course the birthday honours list. Now it's interesting because a lot of people got in touch saying that they enjoyed the video, and of course, you know, they wanted to know how they could nominate certain good people in their community. And rightly so, that is truly what all the honours are about. But what is interesting, of course, is this recent political honour to a former ex-Prime Minister has caused something of shockwaves, let me tell you. But really, is the monarch, our reigning monarch, Queen Elizabeth, the only person that can make this decision? Let me explain. As you're not totally aware, it's recently been announced that the former British Prime Minister Tony Blair will now be known as Sir Tony Blair. But that really kicked off a huge petition. Almost over 500,000 so far, and this is as we're recording this particular video. Now we won't go into all the political details because they're all online, all in the newspapers, and everyone knows them. But the problem is now that the British Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Boris Johnson, announced in a press conference directly from Downing Street that he says it's a matter for Her Majesty the Queen as to whether she now rescinds that offer of becoming a Sir. Well, the bigger problem is this. As we all know, that particular honour was put towards the Cabinet, the board of which, of course, Boris Johnson is part of. So it does seem that he's slightly shifting the blame. Now, what can be done? And as I say, as a recording of this, where does that leave our gracious Majesty the Queen? Well, as you can imagine, she's got quite a bit on her plate right now with her family. But the obvious thing would be that she could recall that honour. But the gracious thing, particularly on the side of the Right Honourable Tony Blair, would be that he rescinds the honour. But then a lot of people are saying, why should he? As I say, it's a raging debate that rolls on. And more importantly, one that leaves Her Majesty, well, kind of in a very delicate position, because if she gives in and rescinds it after the advice of her courtiers and of course her government, then it looks like she's made a mistake. But is it truly her mistake? And whose mistake is it? Now, you've got to remember that this honour has been offered to Mr. Blair for his political work. Nothing to do, of course, with his private life, or indeed the misgivings that he may have had making decisions while in government. It centres on all the good things that he's done, the activities, the charities, that sort of stuff. So in light of that, 14 years after he left office, you can understand why Her Majesty thought perhaps he should indeed become a Sir. Most former Prime Ministers end up becoming a Sir. Now, Mr. Blair himself could personally rescind it, but as of recording this video, there is no light of him offering to do that. As ever, I would love to know what you think, and more importantly, what should Her Majesty the Queen do? Or do you agree that in fact the Right Honourable Tony Blair should of course save embarrassment and just basically graciously say, I reject the offer, but thank you so much? As ever, let me know what you think in the comments below. I'd truly love to know your thoughts on this. A very, very delicate political position for our reigning monarch. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.